Hey. What is up? Ace Chapman here, doing another live. It's been a little while since I jumped on. I had a story that happened over the weekend that I wanted to come on and talk about because I think it's relevant to a lot of folks in the situation that they're in. So I'll start by saying, as a disclaimer, this is not encouragement to follow the strategy. It is just an actual example of what one of our clients has done and not something that everybody should be doing. So, one of the things that I'm personally not a big fan of is the way that universities take advantage of the easy access to loans that people can take in order to pay for university. And, it's just obvious that just like what we saw in the mortgage bubble, too much ease of access to credit causes prices to be too high. And it's bottom line what's happening in the student market. And the only thing that's keeping that market from having a bubble pop is the fact that you can't get out of the debt. It's the only debt that even if you file bankruptcy, you just can't get out of it. So while with mortgages, people are like, oh, this was overpriced. I'm not going to pay this. I'll file bankruptcy and get out of this, and the bubble pops. When it comes to the taking out student loans, it's just one of the things that you can't get out of. So you end up taking out all this debt. If you don't get an ROI, which would be getting a really great job, would be the only ROI that you're going to get. So if you don't get that return on investment, then you're still stuck paying this off. It's in my world, this would be the worst kind of private equity deal that you could ever do. So, was talking to one of the members of the program. He's a younger guy, is in school, but one of the things that a lot of people end up doing in school is they don't have a lot of time to get a job, especially if they're in a very tough program, and so they'll get access to additional student loans that then pay for housing and food and all of that stuff. So since it's so easy to get access to that money, people will go out there and use it. Well, I had a student who is basically got his first deal, down payment on his first deal, and it is using student loans. Just a unique scenario. I won't put him on blast and put his name out there just because it's a very aggressive strategy, but it's something that it's just quite honestly a smarter investment in a lot of cases than what that money would have gone to otherwise. And so this is somebody who's definitely on track to create his own private equity fund and private equity company, but it's a sign of a mentality that I think is crucial as deal makers. And it's something I tell a lot of people. I think when people come to me and they're like, I don't have access to capital, I can't figure out how to get access to money. I have way too many other people that come from the toughest of situations and still figure out how to get started in this space. And it really comes down to a weird concept, but it's how much they love themselves. I think there are a lot of people who expect somebody else to love them more than they love themselves. It's like if you aren't willing to invest in yourself or figure out like what creative way can I get the down payment money on my first deal and start my journey into private equity and creating my own fund. Look, if you want that and you love yourself enough, then you're going to figure out how to do it. I kind of grew up in areas that were really tough. And one of the things that is that a drug addict will come up with the amount of money that they need every day, no matter what they have to do to get the access to the drugs. And, when it comes to having a dream, if you love yourself enough, you will figure out how to get access to that money. But it's really interesting that you'll talk to somebody on the phone. They're like, "Nope, I'm not willing to do the work to figure out how to get the money. I want you to love me more than I love myself, and you figure it out for me. So when it comes to doing deals, when it comes to getting access to mentors, when it comes to just anything, a big part of kind of that litmus test for yourself of how much do I want this is how creative am I willing to be to get access to whatever the resource is. It doesn't even have to be money, just whatever the resource is. I've got plenty of people. I give out a lot of free information here. One of the things that is probably one of the most valuable posts isn't just the education. It's my top 5 recommended books in private equity that I think everybody should read if they want to get into this space. And I have a lot of people who just they don't love themselves enough to read. They don't love themselves enough. Like, okay, I can't afford to work with you. It's like, great, spend $100, get these 5 books and just read those. And they're like, nope, don't love myself enough to even do that. So if you're wanting to get started, it's not even a case of just, oh, how much money can you get access to? Or it's what are you willing to do? Is it investing your time? Or is it, going and borrowing the money? Is it getting creative with what money do I have access to? And how can I take those funds and put it into a deal? And that first deal is all it takes to get started on the path to starting your own private equity fund. And a lot of things get complicated. I talked a little while back. It's not just a super easy path. Where right now, working on a couple guys who are starting their fund. I mentioned in another episode where they met in the network and now they're putting a fund together. And one of the things that I mentioned in that other video is that one person is based in Canada and the other person is based in the US. And they've got investors that are going to be coming from each country, and they've got deals that are going to be coming from each country. And the tough thing there is the tax laws between Canada and between the US are very, very different. It's almost as opposite as you could be. Basically, the US rewards buying things as assets and gives very great tax benefits if you structure deals in kind of around those laws. Canada takes the opposite position. They basically say, okay, we want you to do stock transactions instead of asset transactions, and they give benefits there. So when you've got those kind of opposing ideas and strategies, now you've got to come up with, okay, how do we kind of work around this to create a fund that makes sense to be able to do deals in both countries, be able to have investors that still get some tax advantages in both countries. And so now we're working through those things. And I think that a lot of times, this is a situation where the deals are there. These guys are amazing operators and they've got plenty of investors. But even after that, there are a lot of things to work through to make sure that your fund is set up in the right way. So it's not even to say that after that first kind of obstacle is overcome. Even after that first obstacle is overcome, there are going to be other obstacles. And if you don't have that attitude of I'm going to figure out a way to make this work, then if it's not the first obstacle that stops you, it'll be the second obstacle or the third obstacle. And so it's not me being a mean person when I don't want to babysit people to kind of get them into this space. It is really that I would be doing you a disservice. I mean, if you can't be resourceful enough to figure things out to get over in those initial obstacles, one of the guys who's now CEO on the training company, Sam, he talks about how tough it was to get in touch with me just to be able to join the program, and how he had to search for different emails and phone numbers and finally, became a part of the network. And a lot of those obstacles are put there so that the people that join our network end up being, just the amazing killers. And, I have no doubt, even when we're talking about the issue that we're having in one of the client funds that's been created right now with the tax issues, that in addition to me helping, I know those guys are doing the work that it takes for them to figure it out as well. And that's what makes this whole thing work. I don't have time to babysit people. I want people that are interested in themselves, interested in reaching their goals enough that they don't want to be babysitted. They're gonna figure out what needs to be done, and then I'm there to help, not to drag them along in the process. So be sure, whether you're working with me, whether you're working with another mentor, I think everybody wants to work with people that are self-interested enough to just be resourceful and figure things out. Super proud of the client who figured out, okay, I've got this cash over here. Instead of me going and partying with this extra loan money that I received, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to put it as a down payment on a deal. And now I've started my kind of track towards my private equity fund. So congrats to him. And I'm curious, like, if we've got anybody that's thought about any super creative ways to access capital to get their first deal done. Thanks for checking out the live. Be sure to subscribe if you're interested in private equity, and be sure to put your questions below. I'm Ace Chapman, and that is my live for today.